Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it as always. Another great guest for you. This week I am interviewing Meghan Krauss. Now, Meghan, she is a up-and-coming solo artist. And I say up-and-coming solo artist because she's been on the music scene for a long time. She's been on the scene since, the days of working in cover bands, which we're going to talk a lot about that. Love cover bands, and she really enjoys being in them. She also joined, at one point, the band Marigold, who was put together by guitarist Greg Howe. Check him out. He's kind of a guitar legend, almost like a savant, if you will, just an amazing guitarist. That band went their separate ways. In 2016, she embarked on a solo journey, if you will. Like a lot of people's plans, COVID messed up her release date, but this year she released her first album. It's a self-entitled album, Meghan Krauss. We're going to talk a lot about how she decided to do this. We're going to talk about how she went from being a classically trained singer, singing opera, to now singing some really soulful jazz, rock, just a nice blend music style that's really cool. Really appreciated her time. Really cool conversation. This is a relatively short episode this week, but it was packed with a lot of really cool information. So without further ado, here is my interview with Meghan Krauss. I am here today with Meghan Krauss. Meghan, how are you?
I am excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well as well. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
For sure. So, reading about you, you are a recording artist. I guess, kind of tell us just a little bit about your sound. That's always what I like to kind of start out with. Somebody that's checking you out for the first time. I don't necessarily want you to have to compare yourself to anyone. No one necessarily wants to do that. But what kind of genre do you put yourself in?
I would say it's kind of a juxtaposition of like soul, funk, pop. I get a lot of comparisons to like Susan Tedeschi and Amy Winehouse and Pink, which is a huge compliment. I'm a huge fan of all of those artists. So I think I like a lot of soul and pop combined,
Yeah, well, yeah, and I could see that too because I have listened, but I just struggle. I never want to compare anyone to anyone because sometimes I do that and people are like, I'm my own person. I'm like, I'm trying to compliment you by telling you somebody that I know, but you're not taking it as a compliment, but it's okay.
Listen, I'll take it. If you want to compare me to somebody awesome, bring it on.
I like it. Yeah, no, you definitely have that soulful voice. I like the Pink and Amy Winehouse comparison. That's pretty good to me.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. So tell us just how you started your career as a singer. Maybe even before it was a career, how you decided that singing was something you were interested in, however far back that goes.
Yeah, man, I've been singing like since I was a toddler. My mom says, I'm sure much to her chagrin, screaming at the top of my lungs, ripping around in my roller. But I started like getting into actual like voice lessons when I was like between 10 and 12. And my dad's a huge fan of classical voice. So he kind of steered me in that direction. And I took classical voice lessons when I was pretty young, which took me like through college. And then I joined a band a handful of years later and did like the cover band scene, was like a working musician, and was approached by an amazing guitar player named Greg Howe, who asked if I wanted to join or start a band with him. And that was like the beginning of like an original career, which had me like traveling all over the world and doing things. And when that dissolved, I decided to do my own thing. So that's how I ended up here doing something a little bit different, but still me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to kind of dive into each point that you just mentioned. But before we get there, what does it mean to be classically trained? I have kind of read that in your bio that you're a classically trained singer. Tell us exactly what that means.
So what I mean by that is I sang opera for years. When I was pretty young, my dad, who loves all kinds of music, I joke that he thinks anything that's not classical is like country. He has a very odd perception of like what is what. And not that that's bad, but he was like, if you're going to get into being trained, you're going to do it, like Cecilia Bartoli would. You're going to be classically trained and you're going to learn how to, use your diaphragm and sing with control. And so that's kind of how that began. And I sang operatically for years, which is what I mean when I say classically trained. So it's kind of the antithesis of what I'm doing now and have done for a handful of years, just singing opera and arias and very different use of vocal technique. But I think it's just an amazing foundation to help me kind of work through singing some of the rock and R&B and soul stuff that can be challenging. It really helps you like with diaphragm support and like being able to control without overextending yourself vocally.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that creates a really good foundation for anything else you want to do in the music world for sure. So tell us a little bit about you mentioned that a few years after high school you joined a few bands. Now this is before the opportunity with Greg Howe, but tell us just a little about working on the cover band circuit.
Dude, it's the coolest. It's the raddest. People say like, well, you're in a cover band. I worked regularly when I was in cover bands, like 200 shows a year, which is a tremendous amount of singing. So it really gives you, a massive amount of endurance when you're singing that much. We'd be doing 3 sets a night, often 45 minutes to an hour each set, and I sang everything. I sang everything from like Zeppelin to Whitney Houston to Mariah Carey to Pink, like just anything you can imagine, and it kind of like invigorated like my entire love for music again. I like got to connect with every Prince song I ever loved, or every Bowie song I ever loved, or it's awesome. It's like going out and knowing that every song you're going to play all night long is going to be everyone's favorite. And that's a really cool experience, because when you're doing it, then it's your own music. You never know how something might be received. But when you're doing the greatest hits of every best artist ever, it's a pretty fun experience,
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I know. I feel like people like to kind of rag on cover bands, but yeah, there's several cover bands in my area. I'm actually going later on to an outdoor venue to see a cover band. And it's one thing, obviously. I feel like as a cover band, it makes it cool where, just like you were saying, everyone knows all the songs. People are there just to have fun and dance and stuff like that. Whereas, if you're an emerging artist and things like that, when people don't necessarily know the songs, it's not the same energy. So I feel like it would be cool. I feel like it would be cool to be in a cover band, to be honest.
It's so cool. It's so cool. And the cool thing is, like, as the musical taste of your audience changes, so does your ability to learn new songs that are like hits currently, or even like a resurgence of hits from like the 70s, like it's cool to bring back a Motown song that people haven't heard and they're like, oh snap, this is my jam. It's cool to like be able to revisit those things. I don't know. I would like rejoin a cover band no matter how much notoriety I got anytime. I would do it again because it's so freaking fun.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. So tell us just a little bit about once that era, I guess, was done, or maybe it's not done. You said you're going to rejoin, so we'll wait for that. But tell us about joining. I believe it was called Marigold, and with Greg Howe, which is a pretty well-known guitarist. So tell us how that opportunity happened and what that experience was like.
So I was singing in a cover band and within the kind of, that whole Northeastern circle, I had met an amazing bass player who played in another cover band named Kevin Vecchione. And he has been friends with Greg for years. And when they were looking for an artist to front their band, this is kind of like the story of every band I've ever fronted. They're looking for a man, and somehow I'm like the dude that they find. the least dude ever. They approached me, and it just kind of was like, it was perfect. It just worked out exactly as it was supposed to. And then I joined the band and traveled all over, and it was awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that's a totally different experience, I'm sure, but I mean, what was it like, I guess, from coming from a cover band, which I'm sure a lot of people, that's where people start, but what was it like actually joining a band, having original songs, trying to, I guess, get people excited about that? Did you find it as enjoyable or more enjoyable because it was actually something you guys created, or how does that work?
I think there's like a multi-leveled response to that. So of course there's something, I was talking about this earlier, like going to a foreign country where people don't speak the language that we speak, and watching them sing a lyric or the lyrics to a song that you wrote is a crazy experience. I was like, how do these people not know what they're singing, but they're singing like the lyrics that we wrote? You know, this is a wild, amazing ride that I'm experiencing. But, you know, along with that kind of awesome experience, it's also a huge letdown in the sense that, like, when I played shows with cover bands, I'd be playing like a whole night of music. And when I played shows with an original band, it was like 45 minutes or an hour, and then you're done. And I was always like, I feel like we should be doing more. There should be more content, or I should be like interacting with people more. And some of that's lost, you know, when you're doing things on a less kind of intimate scale, you lose some of the like one-on-one contact that you have with fan base, and you know, the interaction. It's just different. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing for different reasons, you know?
Right. No, I'm sure. So once Marigold was done, I think that was around 2016. You're coming out, I believe, with your first solo album now. So tell us just what's been happening in the last couple of years.
So we have been working on this album. I've been working with a producer out of the Philadelphia area named Stephen McKnight. And we started this process like right around the time that Marigold disbanded. So it's been a handful of years, and we actually had it finished prior to the pandemic. But when the pandemic happened, it put everything on hold, and took us like over a year to release, you know, since we were finished with the actual product. But we've been kind of like working remotely, like sending each other ideas, and like me traveling back and forth. And it's been a long, drawn out process, but totally worth it. Like it's a very authentic representation of kind of a lot of the feelings and emotions that I've had over the past, you know, 6 or 7 years, come to, you know, fruition.
Yeah. So what made you decide this was the time to go out and do something as a solo artist?
I don't know. I mean, like, whoever knows when the right time is, right? You know, I feel like every minute is the right time in some respect. I was kind of gifted an opportunity from a label and interest, and I am happy to capitalize on anybody who has, you know, respect for or interest in what I have to offer as an artist. And it's just been like an awesome roller coaster from the time that it started to what it is now. And I'm just, you know, living in gratitude every minute that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about, I guess, the album. Is it self-titled?
It is. Yeah. Meghan
Okay.
Krauss is the name of the album.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about the album. You know, I asked you earlier, you know, your overall sound, but somebody picks up this album, you know, what should they expect?
I would say it's like soul pop with elements of rock and funk in it. You know, there are songs that are a little more rock inspired and songs that are more pop inspired, but there's like a constant flow of like soulful vocals throughout, and kind of bluesy musicianship throughout. Yeah, so it's like an amalgamation of a bunch of different genres, but there's a definite like constant thread of soul and pop.
And the single off of it, what's the single called again?
It's called Let Me Introduce Myself Again.
And then I know a lot of times with when you have a label, I feel like they kind of pick what your single should be. Is that what happened here, or was this something that kind of spoke to you and you wanted it to be the single, or how'd that happen?
This was actually the first song that we wrote with regard to this record. And the reason is that, I think that a lot of times artists, musicians get caught up in what other people want or expect them to do with their craft, which is kind of what you were just saying. Like the label will tell you what the single is going to be. And that was the opposite of what I wanted to see happen with this. It was like, I feel like it's hard to be your authentic self in Hollywood sometimes. And when you have the opportunity to like write your own story and be authentic about it, that's invaluable, So the single represents how I feel about like my musical past and being able to say like, okay, now I'm finally in a place where I'm going to say what I really think and how I really feel. And I'm not going to worry about mincing words or stepping on toes. And I'm going to be who I am, And so that's why the first single is what it is. It's the first one we wrote, and it's the most authentic representation of how we felt in creating this album.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you say to someone who is out there right now in a cover band? They're wanting to do something more, maybe create their own album, write some of their own music. What kind of advice do you have for them?
I would say, first of all, you're a badass, because being in a cover band is really challenging, hard work. And a lot of people don't see that. They're like, you're doing somebody else's music. That's so easy. But it's hard. It's hard to represent somebody else and do it well and be respected for doing that. So kudos to you for doing what you're doing. And also, like, just be real and be grounded and be authentic in what you love and what inspires you. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't create or do, because you can at any age, in any time, in any place. You never know what moment you'll meet somebody at a show or make a friend that will change the trajectory of your entire life,
That's another thing with cover bands, just you talking about, how hard it is, because I feel like when you're singing someone else's songs that people are so used to it, that's nostalgic to them, if you don't do it well, they just automatically hate it. That does not sound like Whitney Houston. That is not
100%.
Aerosmith. So you have to be on your game with it.
It's so true. It has to be the best that you could possibly do, just not to get booed off stage.
Exactly. So, I mean, how can people find this album? Should they want to go check it out?
So my website is megankraussmusic.com, but you can find it on any streaming forum, iTunes, Amazon. There are limited edition vinyls, 180-gram vinyls that sound ridiculous. The quality is amazing. So yeah, it's basically anywhere you can find music, stream music, purchase music, you can find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you hope, we've learned in 2020 that we can't really plan anything, but what do you hope the future holds? Is it something that you want to get out there and perform on stage? I don't know whether that's something you've already done, but what's the future hold for you as a solo artist?
Yeah, I definitely want to tour. I mean, like I said, performance is like my lifeblood. I love it so much, being able to connect with people one-on-one, or one on, 5,000 or one on 10,000, like that's everything. So I certainly want to do a lot of that in the upcoming months, as soon as we're able, to do that. And I just want to continue to create and continue to collaborate and just do what I love and what other people enjoy hearing,
Well, I like it. So how can people find you as a whole? We talked about the album, but how can they find you?
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like no. I'm on every social media forum. I have my website again is megankraussmusic.com, but you can find me anywhere. I mean, like I said, I'm like a cockroach.
I don't know if that's good or that's bad, but we'll take it, I guess. That was going to be the nice end, but I don't know if I'm a cockroach is where we should end it, huh?
Fixture, pillar, I don't know, which is worse.
Well, good. Well, it really has been a pleasure speaking with you. I do. I wish you all the best. I have listened to, the definitely the single and a little bit of some of the other songs. I like your sound. It's really cool. I don't think that it's necessarily exactly like, everyone else that you're hearing on the radio, which is an important thing, I think. So I was impressed, and I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that was my interview with Meghan Krauss. Hope you enjoyed that one. Really enjoyed speaking with her. Always like to talk to people who are, creative and just doing some really cool things. That's certainly the case here. I have checked out since this recording. I have checked out darn near the entire album. Just an amazing. It's really a cool album. Like I mentioned, it's not necessarily the same thing that you're going to hear on all the regular radio stations, but just the soul behind it and with the rock vibes and some jazz. It's a really cool album, and all the songs are really really well done, and her voice is really unique and awesome as well. So hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you got a lot out of it, whether you love this kind of music, whether you love cover bands, whether you like to just hear a little bit about how creative people do what they do. And that's, like I said, that's certainly the case here. Really appreciate Meghan's time. Check her out, MeghanKraussMusic.com. I'm going to put the link in the show notes here. Meghan spelled a little bit non-traditional, Krauss with a K. That'll be in the show notes. Check her out. Check out the album. Definitely an awesome album, like I already mentioned. Check us out. I always say that every week. Not Enough Podcast on Instagram. Not Enough with Jackson Huff on Facebook. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate Meghan being here. Take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.